This is how I learned mobile application in 1 week and built and published my first mobile application in just a span of 5 days. And in this video, I'm going to be sharing 5 things I learned, how I did to learn them, and how they ultimately benefited me in my programming journey. So stay tuned and let's get right into it. So let me give you a little bit of context and a small background of myself and my experience. So I was in no case an absolute beginner when it came to programming. I already had experience with building backends, I already had experience with building websites, and just right before I built my first mobile application, I had built about 2 original web applications with React.js. And when I say original, I mean ideas that I actually came up with and I didn't see from anywhere. But prior to that, I already started learning web application development with React.js by cloning other websites like YouTube, Docker, and so on. So I wasn't an absolute beginner when it came to programming. And the first web application I built was the one I decided to build the mobile application for. So I wasn't coming from a place of absolute no experience. So the language I used for mobile application development was React Native. Now here are the 5 things I did in order to build and publish my app to both the iOS app stores and Android Play stores in relatively no time. So the first thing was that I already had a predefined idea of what I wanted to do. Now one reason why a lot of people are not really able to learn something fast is that they have no reason, they have no purpose. So if you want to learn something just for the sake of learning it, there's a high chance that you're going to give up along the way. But if you learn something for a very defined goal, a very defined purpose, there are also high chances that you're going to be able to finish your project, or even if you don't finish the project, you'll be able to learn and apply what you learn in other aspects of your life, or just get a job with what you've learned. So as I earlier said, I was developing the mobile application of a web app I built, and this app was basically solving a problem that I had. It was just an app which was calculating exchange rate for my home country Cameroon when any transaction is made through mobile money. So a very simple concept and a very well-defined goal. In the mobile app, I also decided to add a currency converter. So you see, the idea wasn't a very grand idea like maybe building the next Facebook. It was a very simple thing and a very simple problem I was trying to solve, and this helped me learn what I needed to learn in order to build the app. The second thing I did in order to learn what I needed to learn to build this app relatively quickly was to go through the React Native documentation. As I earlier said, I use React Native to build this application because it's cross-platform. Since I'm a solo developer, I cannot really afford to learn Android development and iOS development separately and build 2 entirely separate apps using entirely separate languages, because I'm just one person and I don't have that much time, and I mean that's a lot for one person. So I decided to go with something that allowed me to build one app using one code base and run on both systems. There are 2 choices for this that came in mind. There was Flutter and there was React Native, but I already had experience with React.js, so the most logical thing for me to do was to learn React Native. So what I did is that I didn't go and take a course, I didn't go and take any long tutorial. All I did was to go through the React Native documentation, go step by step, do all the examples in the documentation and read everything line by line. And to my greatest surprise, that was way faster than going through a tutorial. Prior to that, I wasn't really used to going through documentations, but going through the React Native documentation and learning directly from the documentation showed me that every developer or every aspiring developer should read documentations. That is way faster than spending all your time watching a tutorial and doing what the tutorial is telling you. So I went through the documentation and practiced as much as I could. This didn't take me a lot of time since I already had experience with React.js. The experience you have in React.js is very easily transferable to React Native because it's basically the same library that is the React library, but now you're just having to work in the context of a mobile application. So the only thing that really differs now is the way you style things. The way you do styling in a web application is a little bit different than how you do in a mobile application. So that was the main struggle I was facing, living from web development to mobile application development. But with time, you really get used to it as it's just a matter of time and practice. The third thing I did is actually very simple, but sometimes it may be overlooked by a lot of people. So I didn't only spend all my time going through the documentation, I actually did little projects in order for me to get very used to the framework. Some examples of the things I did was to make a basic login screen, like a basic dashboard for like a fintech application. Those are just some few examples, and those didn't take much time. Styling mobile applications is way easier than styling web applications. As you may have guessed, the layout of a mobile phone is way smaller than for a website, so a lot less is going on. So you can really learn how to style your mobile apps relatively quickly, especially if you have already experience in CSS and how to style web applications. Going to React Native is relatively easy. Now the fourth thing I did that was really helpful helpful, and this mindset really helps me anytime I want to learn something new, is to know that I can start the project even if I do not know everything. A lot of people want to start their projects when they've already learned everything, or they are already, I say in quotes, professionals. But the thing is that there will never actually be a right time to start. There will never actually be the perfect time to start your project. So even if I already didn't have a lot of experience in mobile application development, I decided to get into my project at once just after a week of learning mobile application development. Just get started, and all I could say is that I was learning as I went on. So there were a lot of things I didn't know because I could not really become pro in a week, but I was learning a lot as I went on. And even after publishing the application, even after finishing the application, there were still a lot of things I wasn't really good at. There was a lot of optimization that needed to be done. And today, when I take my time to build an app, there are a lot of mistakes I did before, even when I published my first app, that I can't even do now. Now I'm way more efficient in the way I code. I'm way more efficient in building apps, and I can build apps that can scale way better. But at the time, I wasn't trying to be perfect before I started. I wasn't trying to be the best programmer. I wasn't trying to know everything. I was just trying to get the thing done. So that is something that I see a lot of people doing when they are getting started. They want to be perfect before starting projects. The best time to start a project is when you're already familiar with the basics. That is all you need. You just need to know the basics, then hop in directly on your project, because you learn way more doing the project than actually learning the theory, because you learn only by failing. And while doing your project, since the project is dear to your heart, since it's something you really want to do, you're going to fail a lot of times and ultimately learn from all those failures. So that was what helped me to really go fast and build that project relatively faster, because I was failing so much. I was going through a lot of errors while doing project with zero experience. So I learned really fast. Now the final thing is actually just a mind change game. You do not need your project to be perfect before publishing it. My project wasn't full of bugs. It wasn't also perfect, but it was in a condition where it could actually work well and do the job I set out for it to do. So I launched a project with a little bit of bugs, but not so detrimental to the point where you couldn't use the app. The app was just slow sometimes, the app crashed sometimes, but ultimately, since I had already taken the initiative to publish the app, even if it had little bugs, now updating the app and correcting the bugs was something I felt I needed to do. Whereas if it's that I was waiting for it to be perfect, if it's that I was waiting for me to have everything figured out before publishing it, I may have gotten discouraged, because actually it wasn't easy, and actually the reward from the app wasn't apparent. Because it was a free app, it is a free app. It was just meant to help myself and help people who had the same problem as me, and ultimately help me learn. So if I wanted to perfect, if I wanted it to be a really big app, it would have gotten too big, or it would have gotten to a point where I couldn't manage it with my level of experience. I couldn't really have maybe enough time to keep working on it, and maybe I would have given up. So the fact that I decided to just launch it and publish the app, even if it had a lot of bugs, gave me an additional momentum to keep going, even when I was like, nah, this is absurd. This app wouldn't go anywhere. It was already published anyway, so I just had to keep updating it. And I updated it to a point where it was actually stable. The app is still on the App Store. It doesn't have a lot of downloads. It doesn't have a lot of users because I wasn't promoting it, but I learned a whole lot of it. So my second app was way easier to develop. My third app was way easier. My fourth app that I made was still easier. And the app I made recently, which is a social media app, was not really easy to develop, but the problems I encountered when building my first app was a no-brainer in my last app. So just to say that the mindset you have when building something is very important, and this can go way beyond just publishing apps. This can go even if you're having a business. You do not need to be perfect in order to get out there, in order to put your business out there. You can put it out there even while you're building it. This is so that you can have an extra momentum to keep going, because if it's out there, you might as well just keep making it better, because it's your reputation which is on the line. So that was the mindset I was having when developing, and that's what helped me to develop it so fast and publish it so fast and keep updating it. So I'm really trying to improve every single day. I'm really trying to get better, not only at coding or programming. I'm also trying to get better at marketing, at speaking in front of the camera. I'm trying to get better every single day. And the purpose of this video is to help anybody who is suffering with self-doubt, who is suffering with inconsistency, and who is always giving excuses not to start the project they are actually trying to start. You can start your project at any time. You can start small, grow big, or even if you never grow big, you're going to learn, and what you learn is never going to leave your brain. So thank you for watching this video. If you like this video, make sure to leave a like. If you want to see other videos like this, let me know in the comment section. And if you want to see me explaining any concepts about programming, let me know in the comment section, and see you in the next one.